And welcome to another exciting Beyond All Reason replay. I am Turd Bucket, and I'll be taking you through this game. It was a private match that I played with some friends, and it is on a metal map, which makes it very, very interesting. This metal map in particular, known as Cloud 9, has a constant 25 wind and a beautiful metal plate where you can build metal extractors anywhere you want. A lot of people don't like to play these maps because they're a little bit of a meme, but it is fun sometimes to just have that unlimited eco and just go hard in the paint. So when I play on these types of maps, especially Cloud 9 with the nearly unlimited resources, I actually build my lab first. That's because my energy and metal are going to stay pretty stable despite building that lab right off the rip. And what that does is allows me to start getting my constructors out early, and those early constructors help me to pump up my economy and my units much faster than my opponents. So I start with the lab, and then I usually make 4 or 5 windmills, and then get into the metal extractors. And you can see that my metal is starting to dwindle pretty quickly here, but these metal extractors are getting up almost just as quickly, and they are producing 2.4 metal per second right off the rip here. So we've got 3 done, so those are now bringing in 9 metal along with my commander and cons. We're almost to that we've almost secured that metal independence that we need to really crank out these units. So we're going back into win now that the metal is pretty much leveled off. We're 14 in, 14 out. That's pretty dang good. We want to be nice and level with our metal. Don't want to be bringing in excess. So go back to that win so we can start to produce troops, which are going to cost a lot of energy. Sending the second constructor back to start building some windmills, I believe. Or is he going to make the metal extractors? Yes, he's going to go make some windmills here. And then the commander's going to finish off with a couple of metal extractors here. And then he's going to head to the front. So my third con, he is in charge of metal production here, right? So again, we are right on that razor's edge. Energy is looking pretty good. But once these construction turrets get going, we are going to be producing units very, very quickly. So we start out with some scouts just to see what's going on. Our lane opponent is going to be Luke, and Luke is going pretty greedy himself. You can see he's doing almost the exact same thing. Now, granted, he went vehicles, which is a different play. But ultimately, vehicles, he has almost the exact same amount of vehicles out. He's got 2 construction turrets, way less eco than I do. He's got 8 mexes and 8 windmills, and I already have, let's see here, I've got 12 windmills and 9 metal extractors. So I'm definitely ahead at this point when it comes to my economy and to my units out in the field. Now, Luke did have to switch into units here, so he is pumping out more units than I am. I'm still kind of focusing on my initial eco here. And then he brings some units out to try to get my comm. I degun those and take out his scouts. Now it's me versus his commander. And take out that guy there. Start to back my commander up. And I notice that he is not backing up himself. So he is trying to comm bomb me at this point. He's committed to losing his commander. And he does have 5 incisors, which are truly deadly against bots, coming in to try to secure this reclaim, which is going to be huge for him, especially since he does not have the economic advantage that I have right now. Now, the good news is I've been able to build my economy up to where I'm making a pawn every 2 seconds now. So even though he has the the unit advantage on me right now, I can quickly spool up whatever sort of units I need, which happen to be maces, try to defend against these tanks. You can see I'm just cranking these things out. Switching over to Centurions, and I am making a Centurion every 5 seconds. So that repels the attack for now. Not doing great on metal, because he's able to just reclaim my commander and dump it right into units. But at least I have a stable economy that's going to continue to grow and improve, while he has just a reclaim economy at this point. He's lost his commander, his most powerful build power. I've got plenty of cons and con turrets to do all that for me. And he's got his cons all the way up in the front. And they're having to build exploiters now to keep his production up. Let's check in on his eco real quick. So he did suck up those commanders, but he's using 60 metal per second and only bringing in 24. So he's going to have a really, really hard time defending against what I've got in the massive amount of build power I've got surrounding my lab here. Does get a little dicey. He does come in for a little attack. He's got some pounders, which are great against bots, and he decides to go T2. So he's got a comm here with plenty of metal that he expects he can turn it into a T2 lab, which should be able to crush me. His biggest problem is he still has those original 8 windmills, and they're not providing enough power, enough energy for him to do that. So he notices that pretty quickly and decides he's going to suck this thing up, and he is going to head over to make some windmills before he does that. So now he's got to try to defend this line, continue to produce troops, and build up his windmills right here on the front line, because he had to bring those cons out to suck up his commander, to reclaim his commander. Meanwhile, now I'm able to start resurrecting his units, because I don't have tanks. I have units that are not going to be as good against his pounders, against his various tank vehicles. And so I'm going to resurrect these incisors and try to bring them in to do some damage. But obviously he's got a pretty good little force here already, and he is going back to exploiters, even though his main need is energy right now. I think he's doing that to try to provide some defense on the front, while also continue to build up his eco, which he realizes, I'm sure at this point, is not doing very well. So I am a little bit AFK with my constructors over here. Let's check back on my eco, and I am running out of metal at this point because of the massive amount of build power that I do have. I switch over to ticks. So the ticks are going to be produced very quickly. They're going to give my long-range rocket bots some vision, and they're going to be able to start shooting and harassing his tanks from afar. So he notices that. He's going to bring in his incisors and pounders up to the front to try to destroy the little forces that I do have. And I notice it's a pretty big force coming in on me. Makes me pretty nervous. I do ask for some help from my teammates to try to bail me out here, because his units are superior to mine, and they are destroying me. Now, what I do also notice is that my metal had crept up because I had switched over to ticks. I had taken out a pretty good chunk of his force. I did see with the last few ticks that I had that he was going more into the static defenses at this point. So I decided to drop a T2 lab in hopes of building some spiders to crawl along the edge of the map here to try to take out what I thought was going to be his main base. Didn't realize that most of his economy was actually being built out in the middle at this point, but at any rate, that was the plan. So I've got Centurions. They can do a pretty good job against tanks. I'm going to keep those back for now and try to use them as a last-minute defense. And you can see my teammate here, Grunting Pawns and Tony Stark. They're doing a fantastic job of winning their lanes. So they've pushed back Archon and Deep pretty much back to their starting points at this point. My spiders are out and they are on the move, and I'm switching over to hounds. The hounds are going to do a pretty good job against these tanks. They're fast and they've got long range, so they can shoot the tanks from afar, and they can create some pretty nasty circumstances for Tech 1 units. Unfortunately, I didn't notice I was sending the hounds over there at the time, but no matter. I do see that now, and I'm sending them right to the middle to prepare for this attack. I also got these units gifted to me from Tony Stark. Thank you for that, sir. And I'm going to use those to create a little distraction for Luke on this side. So now he has to pull all his units down this way. His cursor's over here. He is just focused on this side. And that's going to give me the opportunity to take my spiders and bring them around while he's not paying attention. Technically, some of his units probably could shoot some of the spiders as they're making their way down the side of this cliff. But because they are all focused on what's happening down here, and I put these guys on repeat, having them moving in different directions. So A, it looks like a bigger force is on the field, and B, it's harder for him to hit all his shots with his whistlers. Okay, so now the hounds have made contact. I've also been able to pump out a quick little fat boy, which is going to be able to do some major damage against these tanks. The hounds go into action. Not great in close combat, but I didn't have much of a choice at this point. He was bringing all his units in. And that fat boy is trying to pop his defenses here with the long range. The spiders are moving into position, and they're about to get a little cheesy here. So poor Luke is finally getting around to making that T2 lab. He realizes I'm T2, so he's got to do something at this point. And I do a dual prong attack, bringing the forces gifted to me by Tony to try to come back around this way. I should say a three-prong attack. I'm coming in from the front, and I've got the spiders that are going to start making their way over as well. So at this point, I think Luke understands that his days are numbered, and he does leave the game. Not much he could do there. Obviously, I got bailed out by Tony Stark giving me those units. That really helped solidify my position and allow me to get my Tech 2 in play. And ultimately, my Tech 2 is what was able to repel Luke's last attack and eventually take out his entire base. So that was it for him. Meanwhile, my lane mates, I didn't really focus on what they were doing, not because they're not doing a great job, but precisely because they did a fantastic job. I made some mistakes up here, so I kind of wanted to point those out. But my lane mates are doing a fantastic job. Grunting has just taken out Deep's commander, so all that's left is Archon Rain. And I do have units coming in now from the north. They've got absolutely nothing to stop it. Grunting has a huge force moving through the middle, and then Tony is contending with these welders pretty well here. Unfortunately, with all his units bunched up like this, the welders are going to get a lot of splash damage with their lightning attacks here. And then Tony's also got his fiends shooting at his frontline units. At the end of the day, he's creating a choke point. It doesn't really matter. He's got plenty of units. It's not going to be his loss at this point. But certainly creates a nice little pile of metal right there. Grunting is just obliterating Deep's front of his base. Deep also went with a fusion. Not a great play on wind maps like this. With the 25, the wind is far more competitive from a metal standpoint, and can be built much faster and scaled much faster. You can lose it all in one block if you build it all in one block, but ultimately the wind is going to be a lot cheaper, faster to build, and allows you to scale much faster rather than spending all that time, energy, resources, and build power making that fusion. So Deep bows out as well. Archon comes in for some D guns, but the hounds are too much, and that's all she wrote. It was a fun game. You know, again, it's a little bit of a meme map, but it's a fun change of pace to the grind of Glitters and Supreme and some of the other maps that are maybe a little more devoid of metal. When you have these plentiful resources, what can you do with them? So I would encourage everyone, if you could, try out a metal map and just to see if you like it, and it'll help you think about how you can scale even on a regular map too. Obviously, it's going to be a much slower pace and look a little bit differently, but it can help you understand some of those elements and be able to help you understand how to pivot as well once you do have those resources. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and drop a turd in the comments. Peace.